hearers out there. Hey, welcome back, everybody. All Control Delete. You can see we are back. The cast members are looking wonderful. I look like the best one out of the group because we can't see Justin. But no, shout out to the beautiful women. My beautiful wife, Bernadette Fortune, Miss Sandra Elmore, the lovely lady of Justin down there. And we just gonna have, I think this is actually a good conversation. You know what? I think this is even better now that I just got this snapshot of, damn, I'm about to be talking to my wife. Justin about to be talking to his lady. And this is a good opportunity. This is a good opportunity to put to rest this whole narcissistic or this gaslighting that women like to do. And it's out here for full display. I hope you ladies are ready for that. Justin, I hope you're ready for that. If you're ready for that, I'm ready for it.
I'm always ready.
Did we just walk into a trap?
Where, like, I feel intimidated at this point.
By all means, please don't feel that way.
I've been tricked.
No, don't feel that way. Don't feel that way. So the reason why we was having this discussion, I hate when I got my headphones on, I can't hear myself speak. We having this discussion based on the fact that we was actually going to be talking about something else, just to be frank. We was going to be talking about something else, but we had to make last minute adjustments. And now we're about to have a discussion based off of something that Sandra posted about a week ago. And I told her when I seen the video, it's not something that was aligned with my beliefs. And I think the video, if I'm not mistaken, Sandra, you can definitely correct me on that, but it was, can Black women relax in their femininity, or something about the strong Black woman trope that's always kind of out in front?
Yeah, so essentially my video was talking about how I'm saying no to the strong Black woman trope, and talking about like the negative effects of it, and then also where it stems from. So that's essentially what the video is about.
So, and again, when you said that, it made a lot of sense to me. I'm like, oh, wow, she's like not defending she's trying to move away from that. But it kind of didn't seem that like that was the overall concept of the video. It was kind of like it was a little misleading based off your original, I guess, delivery of how you said it. Because at the end of the video, or more or less throughout the video, it sounded like you was defending the strong Black woman mindset. Now, I may be wrong. Again, I haven't watched it in a week, but this was a last minute conversation. But Bernadette seemed to have agreed with me on that. And again, it may have been misinterpretation. So can you kind of I can pull it up now. I can go get the video if you want me to. But if you don't mind kind of giving us a little bit more in-depth understanding of what you were stating in that video.
So I was having more of a nuanced kind of approach to the conversation. So in one breath, I can understand where the strong Black woman trope, I'm hearing myself. Justin, you got to mute. I can understand where that strong Black woman trope comes from, right? Mm-hmm. But with that being said, that doesn't mean that has to continue to define us. So, it's, like I said, it's a nuanced approach to it. Understanding where it comes from, but then also understanding how negative it is and how it's been so harmful to Black women in our image.
Okay, and what would you actually define as the harmful part about that strong Black woman trope?
Absolutely. So the part that really is very harmful to us is this idea that first, we don't need our men, which is lies. Okay, every community of women needs their man. And I'll give you an example. So back in, I think it was the early 2000s or very late 90s in New York City, there was a Puerto Rican Day parade. And this was a massive event, and a lot of women were harmed during that event. Okay, it was just like a lot of men that just said they don't care and they were going to take whatever they wanted. And it was really horrific. There was news stories about it left and right. There was even a situation where a husband had to sit there and watch his wife get harmed. And this was just a wonderful, not wonderful event, but it was a wonderful illustration of when women are not protected, what could happen. So when you see Black women putting out this idea that we don't need our man, who else is going to protect us? Are we going to look to the Latino man to protect us, the white man to protect us, the Asian man to protect us? Absolutely not. They are not en masse going to protect us. They will be busy protecting their women. And so when we get on here and we say that we don't need our men, we're literally putting ourselves up for the slaughter.
No, that was me. That was
You know
me.
what
Go
I
ahead.
mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where we cannot say that we don't need our man and we're so strong we don't need our man, because in reality we do. Okay, and we'd be foolish to say that we didn't.
Okay. All right. Now that's a good point. The way you laid it out just then, it definitely makes a lot of good sense. And that's one of the things that I definitely want to bring up is that this ideology that a Puerto Rican man or a black man or a white man wouldn't save another woman, like that ideology of racist is just crazy to me, because I think men as men, don't matter what race you are, would protect a woman. I think this separation and this idea of segregating relationships or protection of a woman does not just boil down to your race or your ethnicity in any case. So that's one thing. I don't understand why a lot of black women have that ideology that only black men will protect them. That is just crazy, because I would protect any woman if I seen her in danger, if I could, you know? So,
But here's the thing. Here's the reason why that is.
okay.
The reason why that is also due to the strong black woman trope. We are looked at as not needing help. Okay, when you put out that persona that you're so strong and you got this, why would people extend a hand to help you? Every other group of women gets to be vulnerable. Every other group of women gets to have that image of damsel in distress. That is something that women as a whole should have a monopoly on. But when it comes to the black woman, we're not seen as soft and we're not seen as fragile and needing protection. And part of that is our own fault. I'm not going to, scapegoat any accountability for that. We do play a role in why we're viewed that way. And we have women that affirm why we are viewed that way. That's why I pointed out Teyana Taylor. She is in a movie just now where she's pregnant and she's shooting a firearm rapidly, looking crazy. Okay, where on earth how does that image contribute to the idea of black women needing protection?
Bernadette, I know you're gonna hold on, Bernadette. I know you're gonna have a lot to say about what she just said on that notion.
Okay.
Hold on, but I'm gonna point something out, because Bernadette points this out to me all the time. That analogy or that example that you just gave, that black women shooting a gun while they're pregnant, is not a good look. But every movie that you see in mass Hollywood now is that the white lady or the white woman is the savior. She's the one who's fighting all the. Right now, there's a new John Wick movie coming out, the ballerina. This woman has to weigh every bit of 95 pounds, but she's whooping every man's ass in the movie. So I think that ideology that a black woman doing what she's doing in that movie is not even a piece of the prominence of what it takes or what it has taken for black women to get the image that they have. And I personally think it's a cop-out. Me personally, I think it's a cop-out to say that black women was given this image to be strong black women. So on that basis, I'm gonna let Bernadette, how do you feel about what Sandra just stated?
No, I totally see both sides of the picture, to be honest. I agree that we have to take accountability for the images that are out there about the strong black woman. There's a, historical and social framework, that this is in, that, is being pushed and pushed. Femininity, the feminist movement has done a lot of damage to women in general. Okay. This idea, like Sandra was saying, that, women can do anything, women can do anything men can do with heels on, those sort of ideals have damaged the role of femininity in the male mind and also, in society in general.
But I kind of disagree with what you're saying, Bernadette, because from what Sandra's saying, is mostly hindering Black women from having that role of being soft and cuddly.
Well, let me say this.
Because it seems to me that white women get way more action roles than Black women. This is a one-off.
Well,
to
let
me,
me let
if you
me
ask
let
me.
me finish.
Uh-huh.
Let me finish. You know, when we talk about the feminist movement, we're not necessarily talking about all women or even all white women. We're talking about this liberal white woman who has, presented herself in a masculine way and convinced all women that they can do anything a man can do. And I do point that out. The propaganda is insane. Every movie, the woman is usually either the co-hero or the hero, period. She's kicking everybody's ass. She's doing all of this stuff that, would not be seen as something that women do. And I think all of this goes into the psyche of society in general. But with Black women, I think a lot of these ideals were brought into in as a majority. Like, I think as a majority, these strong images have been bought into by Black women and Black culture, and it's also being pushed, on our culture, on our community. Okay, Black community. We already had that conversation, but for the sake of conversation, I'm going to say our community, right? And so I think that there is some accountability. Now we're at a point where we need to be accountable. I don't think it's a situation where, women have to be that way. Women have to be strong, masculine. I think it's about decision making at this point. And I think that with the images, I think entertainment has a lot to do with it. I'm sorry. I think a lot of the images that are placed on younger Black women are perpetuating this idea that you don't need a man. You can do everything without a man, including have children. And I think that this is a problem, not just with Black women necessarily, but especially Black women.
All right.
So
So let me go down to Justin. Justin, if you can tap in for a hot second, how do you feel about the perspectives of Sandra and Bernadette right now, based off of what they're saying about Black women and the overall trope that is pushed on them to be strong?
Well, there definitely is a trope being pushed, so I agree with that. There's definitely that whole thing of, okay, you got to be a strong Black woman, you got to be independent, you got to be all this different stuff, and they do that. Um, I always thought they did that. I have some nefarious ideas of why they do that, but it's definitely something being pushed, and I also think I also agree with this. It's also about choices because it's being pushed doesn't mean you have to do it, right? It's like a lot because what's out there, what's available. Like I could tell one of them manly women like, hey, you don't need to be talking like that or acting like that. And I can show examples of how good behavior can contribute to a better society and better functionality within the household, and how you can get shit done, and how you can make sure that you know are in a role where a traditional woman would be in, that is supportive enough for shit to get done. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Mm.
I think that they push that stuff um, on Black women so that Black people as a whole don't move forward. We always gonna be, subject to somebody's what you call it, somebody else's whim. You know what I mean?
I understand.
Whatever.
I got what you're
Yeah.
saying, because I mean I can agree with you all to an extent. I mean, when it comes to certain images being pushed, the LGBT image was pushed, right? The
But it's not
feminist.
just the image though. It's
But
it's not just the image.
we got an Amber
Because
Alert. Hold on, somebody kid got stolen. Open one of y'all's. Go check on them. Go check on them.
go check, Sandra. Go check.
All right, all right. So, what I'm and I understand you saying is, I feel like it's being pushed.
See,
I feel like it's being pushed
been-
in a sense, though, Justin.
It's
Real
being
quick.
pushed through reward. Like it's not something that's just been like, okay, we're gonna give you this movie, we're gonna give you this character, and then that you're gonna mimic that. No, it don't, because it's not that easy. You know what I mean? You have to reward that behavior, and if you reward the behavior continues. You know, so
Okay. All right.
yes.
So then you gotta ask yourself then, Justin, what came
Hmm.
first, the product or the need? Like, what, the supply or demand came first? What came first? And that's the thing that we have to really revert back to. Is there's no different than asking what came first, the chicken or the egg, because this is the thing that I have a problem with when it comes to the ideologies that most of us, we spur a lot of ideologies about certain things like this, when we really don't ask the real question. Well, where did this come from? What perpetuated it to the point that it's where it is now? Because there has to be a supply for something. The only reason someone would supply something is if there's a demand for something. So on that basis, if we talk about the Tyler Perry movies, which we can talk about all day, how fucking hideous they are when it comes to perpetuating a certain stereotype in Black community, but he wouldn't be making that type of money if there wasn't a demand, right? So did Tyler Perry go out and promote and say, hey, you need to watch this type of movie because it's going to be something entertaining for you that is going to change your life? Or did he realize that there was a type of demand and he just fed into it and said, hey, I'm going to make my money this way? I mean, that's the question.
I think for that, and there's 2 points that I'm going to make because I do want to double back to something that you said. But as far as like, Justin, you got to mute. But as far as the demand, what's coming first, I think what really happened was before we were really in media, they would have white people do the blackface and then they would, portray us in movies. And then we started getting roles, right? I forget the Black woman, she played like a mammy.
In all the movies.
She was like, yeah. So, there was a desire for representation. And I think we ended up shooting ourselves in the foot by being so desperate for representation that we didn't gatekeep the type of representation. We were just like, we could just take whatever we could get. And that mentality is still here, where we just want to be represented. It doesn't matter if it's in a good way or a bad way. And so when you have creators like Tyler Perry come along, Black people are so desperate for representation and being seen that they're willing to take anything. They're willing to take any kind of movie as long as they're being seen. Any publicity is good publicity. And that's the type of mentality that we have about our image within media. But the one thing I wanted to kind of double back to was that conversation about Teyana Taylor and what was very wrong about that. See, usually when they have the woman in the movie, and she's doing all of this violence and things like that, they always give her some type of sex appeal, right? They make her sexy while she's doing it. Think of,
Come on,
Resident
Teyana
Evil.
Taylor can't be sexy in no way.
Hold up. Well, I'm not even going to go there. But what I'm saying is, when you see her doing this violent thing, it's this very hyper masculine and she got this crazed look in her eye. But then when you see other races of women being represented in those spaces, still unrealistically, because ain't no 98-pound woman beating up on no 150, 175-pound man. No, it's not happening. But when they do get those roles, they always make sure there is a level of sex appeal with that character. And that's what allows them to retain some of their femininity while doing this masculine stuff. And that's what makes it different.
All right.
Let me say this.
Hold on real quick, Bernadette. Make sure you keep that thought, because I don't want okay, let me moderate now. All right. So on that basis, because I want to make sure the points that gets across, you're going to have a chance to rebuttal. What you're saying is, right, is let's go real quick to the point that you made about old movies and people accepting those old roles like the mammy. Somebody has to step up and say, I'm willing to embarrass myself to that extent to even want to be in that, because you're not conscious enough to even say this is not something I want to push out towards our community. And that's pretty much all I wanted to add to that, because we still have to figure out what came first, the chicken or the egg. Did someone need to eat so bad that they took a role like this? You know, ask Cassie, did she feel so bad about her life and she needed a plate that bad that she would get pissed on? Like, what comes first? You know, how do we really align this shit to say that we're going to keep putting ourselves in this position but blame somebody else for doing it? So Bernadette, go ahead and jump in there and add what you want to
That was the exact point that I was going to make. So thank you.
Well, I'm sorry. I can't.
I was going to say that, somebody has to take that role. Those are roles that these actresses are taking. They're giving to these particular actresses. If they portray them as masculine, that is a decision.
I agree.
Yeah, we can't necessarily say that they're doing these things against our will, because a lot of this attention-seeking behavior is a problem for the Black community and Black women in general, because we took away shame. Let me just start there. We took away shame. There's no more shame. Okay, we have the body positivity movement, which is nothing positive. It's not Asians, it's not white women, it's Black women getting out, and it may be some white women, but it's mostly Black women getting out there showing these obese bodies and saying that this is what we accept, or they're showing themselves, with no hair, or they're showing themselves, doing masculine things. These are choices that we do not shame people for. If we really wanted to change the culture or change the way we are viewed, we would bring back shame. But instead, we are shamed for saying something against those particular, ideals, or, those particular pictures that are put out about women. So, I mean, the culture has shifted. And I think we need a rebrand, seriously, in Black culture that does promote gentleness, grace, being covered, that sort of thing. And, I was in the nation. You mentioned that before, that I was in the Nation of Islam, and and one of the core principles of being in the MGT and GCC was femininity, covering yourself, making yourself a helpmate to your man, not trying to be your man or jump in front of your man. And Louis Farrakhan did say that you can judge a society based on their woman. Okay. And when you look at Black culture, what do you see? Right. And so that's why Black people are looked at as the footstool of every other community. The permanent underdog or the permanent underclass is because a lot of it has to do with the way we are viewed and look no further than the woman. So.
All right. So I do agree with you on a lot of the things you say, but we can't also at the same time take away the fact that we are in a modern day society, and we have the new notion that people have drive and they have vision for themselves, individuality. So they're going to start to perceive what femininity is and isn't, right? Just like someone,
because there's nobody teaching them. There's no OGs, there's no elders.
Listen,
they're not listening to the past. They're not learning from the past transgressions.
I understand what you're saying. But again, everything in the world evolves in its own way.
That's not evolution. The Black community is not evolving. The Black community is devolving.
First of all, everything is evolution. Even if you look at it as regression, that's still an evolutionary form. Because even the micro structure of something or the macro structure of something is evolving, whether it's in the opposite way or it's all on perception. At the end of the day, it's all on perception. I do want to get back real quick and make sure that we get back to the basis of what the conversation is really on, because this is the thing right here, right? What is femininity? That's the question. Because you have to define that, just like men have to define what is masculinity. And I think me, Sandra, and Justin done had this conversation before in another chat. But you have to define that. I can't define what femininity is for you because, again, it's subjective. Now, objectively, if you want to hear my opinion, I mean, Justin could give our opinions. I definitely don't think it aligns to what you ladies would perceive it as. So based on that, I would love to hear what you think femininity means to you at this point. Either one.
Who wants to go first?
So I mean, I can go. Mine is going to be quick, but I do think that the Bible. I want to come from the Bible a little bit.
Go
Okay.
ahead. Do your thing. All right.
Okay. I just want to say that in the Bible, okay, which I believe gives us a core set of values. You don't have to be religious. I think that it is a core set of values that you can gain from the Bible. Okay. Now, what was the woman? What was Eve to Adam? She was a helpmate. Okay. I don't think that we're necessarily created just to help men, but I believe that there is a strength in femininity that is not taught to women. That's why women want to become masculine. Who feeds the troops, right? When the man goes out, he's a protector and provider. Who has to feed him? Who has to feed the family? Who is responsible for their nutrition? They can't get out there and do what they do if we don't feed them, okay? Mentally, spiritually, on every level. All right. So I think that there is a strength there that women do not understand because we are not taught that our role is just as important as a man's role. Men go out there. Yes, they're strong. They build, but they can't build without us. We build the home. They build the environment. It works. It's worked since millennia. So why would we go and change that and try to become something that will never be? You know, I hate that we didn't get the other discussion, but you can never do what a man does. I don't care how masculine you are, you'll never be that. And there is a role for women that is just as important that the man cannot function unless we do.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Good points. Good points. Sandra, you want to piggyback on what Bernadette just said and create your own lane?
Yeah, so I agree with everything you said. Now some things that I kind of want to add to it, and this is coming from my own personal journey because I've been on my own little femininity journey. Like I told y'all before the stream, I'm trying not to curse this time. Okay, I'm trying to clean out my potty mouth and be a little bit more
decorum,
intentional about the words and have better decorum. Exactly. And I realized that femininity for me, it's having that nurturing energy. It's, having that softness, because when we think about yin and yang, okay, there's always a balance to things. When I think about a man, I think about strength in the sense of like a hard type of strength. You know what I mean? Being able to, fight off things that are coming towards the home, being able to go out into the world and bring back resources and defend the family if need be. I think that men have that strength about them. And then when it comes to women, I feel like we have a strength about us too, but it's a softness, right? Where if we were to look at a situation like, let's say me and Justin were out somewhere, he has that physical strength that if somebody were to test us, he could physically protect us. Me, I have that soft strength where I can de-escalate the situation. Okay, not saying I'm gonna stand in the middle of.
That's real.
Saying I'm gonna stand in the middle of some shit. Not sorry.
Oh,
sorry. We have big mouths. Go ahead, Sandra.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But see, this is a good topic to get on, because I feel like it is a woman's role to be able to de-escalate a situation with softness, right? But a lot of women aren't doing that. Instead, they will escalate a situation. And I got a perfect example that those two streamers that just got into a tizzy, and the one streamer ended up shooting the other streamer and the wife. If you look at the beginning of the video, who is confronting the YouTuber?
The woman?
The wife. Yeah. And the man was running away. I'm like, what in the tarnation? Why are you in this man's face? You should not be doing that. You are escalating the situation. So she was not playing her role. And granted, she lost her life. This is the ultimate consequence. But this is a perfect example of a woman not being in her femininity and in her role. As your role, you are supposed to de-escalate situations. Now, I'm not
Oh,
saying
she definitely
get in
de-escalated
between.
it. She de-escalated the shit out of that one.
Yeah.
I mean, you
I mean,
can't fight
yeah.
when the other person's done. So yeah, but you feel me? It's like, a woman's softness is our strength, and we really need to start getting back to that. And that's why I'm on a journey to rekindle my softness,
I
because
hear
I
you.
feel like through life, I've lost that.
I hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
Listen, perfect time to segue into one of the. Somebody just said. Let me go back and find it. Can women that reside in harsh and stressful environments really be expected to relax in their femininity? That is a really good question, because Sandra just brought up the fact that she done had some hard times that done made her tough, right? She just said it. She's trying to find something again that's called femininity, because for some reason femininity is attached to non-struggle. I don't know why. I have no idea. But for me, I just like masculinity isn't attached to struggle. Men don't have to go through hard times to be masculine. Women don't have to go through just soft times in their life, their whole entire experience to be feminine. So bullshit on that part. All right, now Justin, I'm going to ask you. I need to understand from another man's perspective. What is your perspective? What's your perspective on femininity, and what is it to you, brother?
Look, I always say that if you so when I look at the roles of a man and a woman, I look at it in a more natural sense. Like, do I want a woman to be aggressive when she needs to? Yeah, hell yeah. Because if you can't be aggressive, or you can't have that what you call that hardcore drive about you, then you can't protect the family when I'm not there. You know what I mean? So if we got kids and you don't have that energy that's like I can fight too when it's necessary, then I feel like you're not in the human role at that point.
Okay.
You're in a natural role at that point. So the femininity does have some traits of masculinity, but they share the traits, right? So you gotta have the strength characteristic. You gotta have you gotta have that fight, and so femininity to me is, yes, when the man is there, let him deal with it when he can. You know what I mean? Let him deal with the problems when he can. And yes, you can try to de-escalate the situations as they arise, stuff like that. Like, yes, that is a woman's role. The nurturer is more soft. So I agree with Sandra on that point.
I do.
That's the role. But like I said, if it was in a while and I wasn't there and she needed to be that aggressive, she would be that aggressive. You know what I mean? That's what you want. So I'm a little nuanced on that part. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that women shouldn't be masculine. I mean, I'm sorry, not masculine, but shouldn't be aggressive when they need to be, because that's not a feminine trait when it definitely is. I feel like it is because it's natural. You know what I mean?
I totally agree with what you're saying. It's a healthy balance between the two for a woman, and it's healthy balance
Yeah.
for a man to know when to be feminine as well to his woman. At the same time, feminine.
Yeah.
Not feminine,
Yes,
soft.
same difference.
Yeah.
Same difference, because we have
Okay,
estrogen.
feminine.
Men have estrogen too. So stop playing. Like, listen. At the end of the day,
Some of them got too
You
much.
might have
some
more than most.
Yeah,
but-
some
That's
may
scary.
have more than most. Yes, is that? Hell off, Justin. I heard what you said. Got to sneak that in there. All I'm
Jay,
saying.
somebody wants to. Did you see that message in Discord?
Yeah, I already answered that message.
Shannon? Okay.
I think I did. I don't know. I don't Discord.
Yeah, somebody said it's a great conversation. I don't know if you know this person,
I
Andrew.
have no idea.
Yeah, that's my
Okay.
guy Shannon. That's my
Okay.
guy
No,
Shannon.
that's okay. All right,
Okay.
so let me break this down for a real quick minute, and we can have a discussion. All right. So the ideology of feminism or femininity, based off of what we know of it today. Let's talk about what we know of it today, right? Femininity in the eyes of modern day women is just saying I am something to a man. Pretty much it. That is it. I have a husband, I have a boyfriend, I have a girlfriend that has a strap on. Whatever that is, I am that to that person. That's pretty much the extent of what femininity means today, is that you're a female and you're with a man or something that's of a man, right? That's my perception of it. Now, if we're going to go back and talk about what femininity used to be, right? What it once was, it has to come from submission. It has to start with the notion of submission, right? You cannot ask a woman today if she's submissive because she don't understand what that actually means. Then if you give her an example of what that means, you have to go all the way back to the 1800s and give an example from what that looked like, and that make you look like you're what they call it, toxic masculine.
A caveman.
Exactly. See, thank you. Great point. But see, how can you ask a man what is submission when he doesn't have a modern day understanding of what that is? Because women don't want to submit. The reason why women don't want to submit is because they have drive, they have vision, they have something about themselves that they see outside of other than just being in the house, being a cooker, being a laundry woman, sweeping the floor, mopping.
But that's not what submission has to be. It doesn't have to be you just gonna do this thing.
But what I'm saying though, what I'm saying is the ideology of it has been so far lost that we can't get a common ground of what it is. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can't ask a modern day man what submission look like. He's going to tell you some shit about 1930s. Because
well, in your opinion, what does it look like from the perspective of a male today? Right. From a modern perspective, what does
today
submission look like to you?
Today, if you really want to know the truth, a man finds real femininity in one fucking thing. And I'm gonna give you a quick example. Babe, I ain't got time to hear that shit right now. Let it go. That's it. That's all a man wants from a modern day woman. I ain't got time for that right now. Just let that shit go. And be done with it. A man don't want shit else but peace. Shut the fuck up. That's all a man want is for you to shut the fuck up, and he'll love you to the end of the fucking world. That's today's modern man.
Yeah, but
but that's what submission is, though.
Go ahead,
That's
Justin.
what submission is. Submission is basically what you just said, shutting the hell up and letting shit go on. Like, that's what it is. It's not necessarily you got to shut the hell up 100%. It's that you need to understand, okay, this is happening, and if I'm doing this thing, let's rock with it. You know what I mean? But
what I'm hearing is you want a woman to adhere to your requests and not to keep up a lot of drama and give you peace. I'm hearing you want peace.
Listen, the modern day man wants peace. Period.
Okay.
He don't want to argue with you. He don't want to debate with you. He wants to talk to you, have a discussion, and if you disagree, say you disagree, right. But don't give us the 100-mile run of why you disagree and why it's so wrong. I don't want to hear that shit. If I want to hear that shit, I go to another man and hear that shit.
But you're dealing with a modern woman that, as you said before, now has drive, ambition, the ability to vote. She's going out and working and providing.
When a woman
so you're
starts
not dealing
barking
with
louder than a man trying to match masculinity. That's what it is. That's what it is.
I don't think all women try to match masculinity, but like, for example, Sandra has opinions about things. I have opinions about things. Maybe we see things differently than you do. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're not submissive.
No, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, so I think there are times that men will think that their way is the only way and the correct way. And I think a woman can come in and try to offer an opinion or a different perspective that may add to the man's vision, and he somehow may think that there's a problem with that.
See, and I agree with you that there is a different construct. Most men today that won't take advice from a woman because we can be, so fucking, just like tunnel vision that we lose track of what the actual mission is. That he's a dumbass. That's not what we're talking about.
You're talking about being combative.
Exactly. What I'm saying is, right? today in modern day society, most women don't have friend girls. They don't really go out and hang out and do coffee and do all of the chit chat shit that they used to do when my mom them used to. But my mom really didn't have. My mom got a lot of friend girls, and like a lot of them, they might get on her nerves and you know what I'm saying shit, but all she do is want to vent to her man and tell her about the shit other women got going on. Men are okay listening to that. Men, we are okay listening to that. But the problem is when you don't have enough of that to vent to women, you start to treat your man like they your fucking homegirls. And then men start treating their women like they fucking homeboys. And now you got this button head shit and starting to like talk to each other like homies and girlfriends. I'm not your fucking homegirl, so you can't talk to me like a bitch. You not my homie, so I can't talk to you like, what up, fuck nigga? Like, I can't do that to you. So on that basis, this is where the crossing the lines of where we have gone, because we are not explorative in the world anymore and going out and actually having those relationships in the places they supposed to be. So everything goes to the person you're with. Everything goes to the person you're with. And that's
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sandra. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I agree with you 100%, and I can speak on this from my own personal perspective, right? So since I moved to Georgia, I really don't get out and meet people. I stay in the house. So I don't have female friends like how I would back when I was younger and I was working jobs and I would go out and meet girls. Oh, you gotta mute, babe. But you know, since I don't go out and I don't meet other women like that, you know, it's very hard to develop those friendships with other women. And so, you know, I was telling Justin, and this was relatively recently, maybe about a month or so ago, and I was telling him, I was like, yeah, I need some female friends. Like, you know, I need to be able to go out and, you know, talk to other women, because, you know, just going to Justin to talk to about everything,
he's gonna become your homegirl.
Some issues. And honestly, like, and I agree with what you're saying as far as like the combativeness, because, you know, me and Justin, we don't have a perfect relationship. And I can admit that when I get very upset, you know, and this is something I'm working on. Okay. I'm working on it, and I am self-aware that I can be extremely combative when I feel like I'm not being heard. And that stems from past trauma. But at a certain point, you got to learn that there is a way that a woman can communicate that still has weight without being, you know what I mean? Like, there's a way we can communicate our ideas and communicate the things that we need and the things that we want without having to step into that position of, I'm going to argue with you like you a man on the street, or I'm going to argue with you. And that's something that a lot of women don't know how to do because we never really seen it. Like, I can even speak from like my parents. Like, I've seen my mom clear cuss my dad out several times. You know, I grew up in a household where my parents, they argued, you know, right in front of us. Or if they told us to go to the room, we could hear it through the door. So it's like, I didn't grow up seeing a woman being able to, you know, communicate her position from a place of femininity. So I have to learn how to do that on my own, which I'm fine with doing that. And I'm going to do that because I don't want my daughter to be that way. Right. So it's just like, we need to break through those generational traumas so that the next generation doesn't have the same problems that we keep recycling through generations.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. We don't grow up necessarily seeing healthy relationships. So we don't have anything to mimic, you know, especially from the female side. Most of us didn't really have a father figure, you know. As a woman, men are very important to give you those checks and balances, you know, to show you where the line is. And a lot of us grew up not having the male presence around. And so we grow up with toxic femininity. So our whole life, you know, we may be trying to learn what it is to be a female, you know, what it is to communicate, like Sandra said, from a place of femininity. I'm toxic sometimes, you know, I tend to yell when I don't get my point across, but I've been working on that. I've been working on that a lot. I also wanted to touch on something that you said, Jay, about female friends. I'm a little older, so I kind of went through stages of wanting female friends to, talk to and things like that. Not there anymore. I don't want female friends necessarily unless they're in healthy relationships, because you have to really filter out, especially as a married woman, you have to filter out your friendships, because a lot of times what happens is you're in friendships with women who are dysfunctional, and when you do have that female friendship, you're telling your problems and you're venting and things like that. There's no telling where that's going to go these days, especially. So I understand your argument that a lot of frustration and things may come from not being able to express yourself with other females or go out and things like that. But that may be a blessing for you. And you need to realize that a lot of these modern day women will not give your wife the friendships that are healthy and that will help her grow in ways that she needs to grow. So, I just kind of wanted to say that. I'm not saying that you're wrong, and I'm not saying that I shouldn't have a lot of female friends, but a lot of female friends, no, that's not necessary.
And the more people you have doesn't mean that things get better. What I'm saying is, when it comes to life and the energy that we carry, there's a way we balance that by having different conversations with different people.
I have a therapist. I'll find therapy.
I mean, that's fine, but most Black people don't. They don't understand. They look at it as a negative, anyways. So on that basis, I'm not trying to say that Black women aren't soft and feminine. My thing is, there's no such thing as having to find it because you never lost it, right? The thing is, you never understood how to tap into it because you have been watching this shit, like you mentioned earlier, the TV shows, the baddies, listening to the music, shake your ass, pop your vagina. You've been sitting here going to the clubs, watching other girls be thirsty and loud just to get their attention. So that mindset, the attention mindset, is to say, okay, I have to be a certain way. And even once you get the attention you want, my thing is, and it's me personally, my personal experiences. Like I've had a lot of experiences, not to mention all of them, but just on the basis, every experience that I've had with what I would consider African American woman or Black woman has been to the point where there's no peace, because peace to them is chaos. Without the chaos, they don't feel the love. They don't feel the attention. They don't feel the connection. It feels like, oh, why are you here? If you're not arguing with me, if you're not having disagreements with me, I don't know if this is real. Maybe you're talking to someone else. Oh, if you're not arguing with me, who are you talking to? Like, that's the mindset that seems to play out when it comes to what my experiences with Black women, whether it's my family members, my sister who's in the chat, my mom who's in the chat, my personal people that I've known, friends who's been in relationships, even Black girls that I was friends with who was in relationships. I have seen this across the board with my own perspective. I'm not saying that's every Black woman, but I think that notion that the strong Black woman is something people, especially Black women, hold on to so much because it's like a badge of honor. I have this because I walk around proudly. And then and Sandra, I got to bring this up because I brought it up to Bernadette when I watched your video. When I hear a woman say, I got to tap into my femininity, or I want to relax into my femininity, the first thing I think about is a crystal woman, a woman who want to go get crystals now and walk around with all these beads on and shit. They want to relax. That's like, it's one extreme to the next. Like, oh, for me to go into femininity, I got to be a crystal child now. Like, I don't want to hear about crystals and horoscopes all goddamn day. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no.
Like, for me personally, femininity is just simply, babe, what do you need? How can I assist you? Listen, if you stress,
a helpmate.
No, it ain't no goddamn helpmate. It ain't no damn helpmate.
What is it then?
Justin,
what is it? I mean,
what am I saying,
that's
Justin?
what it sounds like you saying.
No. Oh, Justin, what am I saying, brother? So it's not all on me, so I don't get to take the whole thing. What am I saying?
It's not like you saying support system.
A support system.
No,
That's a helpmate.
No, not really. No, because a helpmate.
Stop it,
helpmate is some. Okay, no,
no, it's synonymous.
A support system goes both ways, right? Because the man gonna support you, and then you support him. So it's like, like if Sandra got something, like she's doing the YouTube stuff. Do you know how much money I done spent on that YouTube stuff? when she was first starting out.
You know how much money I done spent on the YouTube stuff when my wife comes
No, I'm just saying, like,
I just feel, you
you
know.
know, that is an example of a support system, you know. So it's like now you can flip it on the other side. You can say, well, a woman can do the same thing, but a lot of women nowadays don't view it that way. Well, you got to do this and you got to do that, and I know that you want to do this, but I want you to do this. You know what I mean? Like and I think that's a natural thing, you know, like that's a natural thing. But then when you mix or couple intellect with that, it's like, yeah, I could, especially in modern society, a woman can do a woman can do a lot of the work that a man can do nowadays, and I don't mean that in a way like, oh, you could go out here and do some heavy stuff that pretty much only men are doing right now. Like, no, I'm not
but
saying
they got tools to help them do that, even if they try. But go ahead.
Yeah, but what I am saying is there's a lot of things that women can do nowadays that like you said earlier, you said you're living in a modern society where women can vote and work and all that stuff and have drive and ambition. It's like, okay, now have that drive and ambition when you want to if you want something out of life, have that drive and ambition, and don't let that drive and ambition get in the way of relationships, because that role, like a man, I would say would be more prone to letting it get in the way of a relationship, because you're naturally more aggressive because you're testosterone, right? A woman, not so much. Now, that's not an excuse, right? That's just more of a, okay, I can understand based off of that whole natural idea that, yeah, a woman would be more prone, like, okay, I need this from you. And a man will be like, I need this from you, you know, like, I need you to shut the hell up, as Mr. James here would say. And then a woman will say, well, I need you to do this, you know, because that's just a natural order thing. But then, like I said, once you couple intellect with that, then you start to realize, okay, we can be smart about some things. I can do this while you focus on that, or I can focus on this while you do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm not speaking very vaguely here, but I'm putting it on both sides, where both sides can have that dynamic where we can switch, because, like I said, you couple the intellect in there, and once you put the intellect in there, then there's no excuse anymore for, well, I got testosterone, or I got too much estrogen, or whatever the hell it is. No excuse for that no more, you know. So, yeah, a woman, the support system is not so much so that you have to do whatever I say when I say it. No, it's not that at all. It's, if you see I'm doing something, find a way you can help me help you be comfortable while I'm doing what I need to do. You know what I mean? That's what a support system is.
Let me just clarify something.
When
I said helpmate, that was not, I don't know what you guys are hearing.
Come
when
on,
I say
you know
that.
what the hell we hearing when you say helpmate. That sounds like I
No,
hired
I
a fucking
don't.
servant.
I really don't. It sounds like you said exactly what I said. Somebody that is a support system. That's what a helpmate is. If I'm helping you, aren't you going to help me? Am I not helping you help me?
Bernadette.
That's what I said initially. A woman, even with Louis Farrakhan, when he said a woman place is a helpmate to a man, because the man goes out in the world and does what he does and comes back and helps her.
Come on now,
Can we all agree that
Bernadette is gaslighting the shit out of us right now? Can we all agree that Bernadette is gaslighting the shit out of us right now? Because her intent when she said helpmate was not that, and y'all know damn well.
What are you talking about? I said it's synonymous. That's exactly what I meant. I said what I meant.
Wait, so
that is
James,
not, you're misunderstanding things, and then you're trying
she meant?
Say it again.
What do you think she meant?
Right.
What do you think she meant?
Helpmate to Bernadette.
I'm confused.
Listen, helpmate to Bernadette, due to the fact I know she's my wife, and this is not the first time she said that fucking word, and I know the intent behind it when she said.
No, you don't. Apparently,
the intent behind when she say helpmate is I'm supposed to just shut the hell up and just do whatever you tell me to do.
That's not what I meant. That is not at all what I meant. That is not at all what I meant.
Shirt on, made me have to pray
and
for you.
Let me just say this too. A lot of reasons why women are masculine is because they are looking for a man to do his job. A woman will relax with the right man. Believe it or not,
That's
a
a damn
woman
lie.
will relax.
That's a damn lie. You know how that's a lie?
Yes, it is.
You know how?
Listen,
you know,
a woman,
I'm gonna
when
tell you how
a
that's a
man
lie.
is in his proper position and knows
I'ma
what
tell you
he's doing and is strong in his leadership and his direction, a woman will relax or she'll get the hell on. Because a man is not going to deal with a woman who is not submissive in the ways that he needs to be submissive to his masculinity. And a lot of these young men, I'm talking about the modern men, are not in the position to have the type of woman that is submissive and adhere to his leadership.
And see, that's the thing.
A lot of men are not in that position.
That's the thing. So due to the fact you come from an older generation, the amount of submission that you're talking about does not equate to today's submission and the things, because most women have their own careers and making just as much money as men. So you're right, that'll never happen if it's on a financial and what I can gain and what I can do type thing. But what you can't do, like Sandra mentioned earlier, you can't protect yourself in situations that you need a man to protect you, where that submission needs to kind of outweigh what a man can do for you financially or what a man can do with you asset wise. So on that basis, if you one of those strong black women that you out here talking about and say you don't need no man because you can protect yourself and you got money, then of course we're talking about you. You're talking about the
a lot of women would rather.
Listen, we're talking about the exact
single,
same woman.
To be honest,
listen, we're talking about the exact same woman who would say, "I'd rather be single than to deal with a man who's not financially where he needs to be because I am."
It's not about just financially. It's not just about financially. You know that. You know that I'm not just talking about financially.
Because a man who loves his woman, who gives her this kindness, love, honesty, support, loyalty. What the fuck else am I not giving you that you talking about you not getting?
Okay, I'm gonna ask you. Go
ahead and bring up finances because you can't bring up nothing else. Go ahead.
Well, why'd you leave them out? I'm confused.
Because
that's part of masculine protect and provide.
The point of finances is that I know.
Go ahead.
I have a friend, very wealthy friend. I'm not gonna say his name, but I could say from from me and him having this very similar discussion that finances don't matter.
Finances don't matter.
So it's not the finances that are the problem, because you could be wealthy, right? You can have all this money, but then you still gonna have these problems because, again, it comes to that whole idea of what the support system actually means.
Bernadette know this from real life. Her sons got plenty of money and they still can't get a submissive woman. What the fuck are you talking about?
Because they don't want one. What are you talking about? they want ratchet. They like it. So I'm come on, James. They're not looking for no wife. Okay. So, bad example.
Go ahead,
Bad
Justin.
example.
Finish what you're saying, Justin.
No, there are wealthy men who cannot get what they're looking for. It has nothing to do with the money that they have. I agree with that.
Jeff Bezos gave up $50 billion for peace. He said it.
There are. When you talk about wealthy men and what they're not getting, trust me, it could be a plethora of things, other things going on with them. Come on, we're looking at Diddy right now. We're in the age of Diddy right now. Diddy is a wealthy man.
Listen, and guess what? That motherfucker was submissive, and all the ones out there that was submissive, so submissive.
No, they were scared. There's a difference. They were afraid of him. Physically, they were afraid of him financially. They were afraid of losing their lifestyle. They wanted attention and clout. That's a very complex situation. And most of the times when men have a lot of money, the reason why they're not, first of all, they're not even looking for shit anyway. Okay. They're not. And then men don't care about when a man is wealthy, he doesn't care about what a woman has if he wants her. He doesn't care about what she has. You could be a wealthy woman, whatever. They don't care about that. They have their own money and they want to be the head of the household. So 9 times out of 10, they're not looking for somebody that's just as, narcissistic or has as much of an ego as they have. They want somebody that's going to lay down. So they're looking for that, submissive chick.
So you saying you
So-
gotta have that much money to
Well,
have
wait,
find someone to lay down?
something-
But go ahead, Sandra.
Something I did want to kind of get pushback on is, and I'm guilty of this too, right? So when we say like, oh well, Justin, you gotta mute.
Oh my bad.
I have ADHD. When I hear myself, it just throws me all the way off. But what we have to kind of have a little bit of accountability with is, there is no such thing as conditional femininity. Okay. This idea that, well, if the right man is in front of me, then I'll be submissive. That's not true. Okay. If you're a naturally submissive person, if you're going to play that role, then you're going to play that role no matter what situation you're in. And that doesn't mean that you sit there and allow people to abuse you. No, absolutely not. But you can, play ball when it's reasonable and then find a way to leave the situation while still maintaining that soft feminine energy intact. That is a possibility, and there are women that do that. But when we get on here and we say, well, if you were doing this, then I'll be able to do that, that is it's just not true. And I've said, like I said, I will hold myself accountable. I've said something very similar to that effect to Justin not too long ago. Okay, we got into a really big argument, and Justin, I don't know if he remembers me saying something like that. But when you really sit back and you think about it, your actions and who you are your choices and your decisions. Nobody's forcing anybody to be a certain way. So if you are saying that you're this type of person, then that's who you will present at all times. It won't hinder on whether or not somebody else is doing what they're supposed to do. Now, if you feel like they're not giving you what you need, then you remove yourself from that situation and then you go elsewhere. But I don't think it's fair to say, well, if you're not being the masculine provider or protector, then that means I have to step up as the masculine. No, you could leave. You can leave and go find that masculine man. But the moment we step out of our femininity and start acting masculinely to, go head to head with our man, and then we throw that in their face, that's more so an excuse for our masculine behavior in that moment, right? It's a crutch for that masculine behavior in that moment where we're stepping out of ourselves. So I really don't want us as women to rely very heavily on saying things like that, because it takes away that accountability to self. Because
that's a big word.
I'll give an example, right? If I say that I'm not a liar, and then somebody comes up to me and they do things to me, and I end up lying about something, I can't then be like, well, you made me a liar. No, that was a choice. It was a choice to lie. So it's a choice for women to step out of their feminine energy to be masculine and go toe to toe with their man in a masculine way. It's not up to the man to, make that decision for us, whether or not we're going to be feminine, whether or not we're going to be submissive. So I just want us to make sure that we're not playing, using that as an excuse for our behavior. Like I said, I've done that. Like not too long ago, I said something very similar like that to Justin. And when I sit back and I think about it, it's not true.
Yeah, I don't think there's conditional femininity. Okay, let's get some clarity. I would agree with you that femininity is not conditional, but I would also agree that women will give push, whether you're consider yourself a feminine woman or not. Women will give pushback towards men who do not present themselves in a way that they should. So, for example, if I'm dating and I have interest in a guy, and he seems to be a certain way, he presents himself as strong, masculine, great leadership, maybe he has it all together, but then as I get to know that person, it's not at all what he presented. In other words, he came out with his representative. In that respect, then my respect is lost. And women can lose respect for men when they are not presenting themselves as they should. So I'm not saying that there is conditional femininity, but I am saying that women are human beings And they do have to have a level of respect for a man to be submissive. And if a man does not present himself in a respectful way, then that can be a problem. And it's not necessarily a woman being masculine. You don't have to be masculine to show a man that, you know, you're losing respect for whatever it is, you know, you have going on.
I don't mean to cut you off.
And I think there is a way to nurture a relationship. Maybe, you know, we need to pull up in some areas where you can still be feminine, but sometimes a woman may have to play a leadership role, but it can be in a feminine way. So I'm just saying it's not necessarily going to masculinity or conditional masculinity, but a woman has to respect the man that she's with.
Let me jump in right here, and we have a new face in the building. I think Justin invited his guy Shannon on to take his place. Is that correct, Shannon? Right?
Yes, sir. Hey, what's up, y'all? I didn't want to just weirdly come in here, so I asked Justin. I said, "Hey, let him know that you invited me to come in." So thank y'all for having me. But yeah, I'm Shannon. Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you as well, Shannon. No problem. As long as you can bring some value on the men's side with this femininity talk, we all good, bro. We all good. So real quick, let me read out a few comments real quick. We have someone said, hold on, who is? What exactly are the feminine qualities, and does femininity look the same on every woman? I'm personally going to say no, it does not look the same. Every woman is different, especially in this modern day society. Ladies, y'all might feel different, might feel the same. Shannon, not quite sure how you feel about that.
Culture plays a role. Culture plays a role in how that femininity is expressed, but there are some principles that should be, you know, pretty consistent, but, you know, it will be different based on culture.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I think there is a standard of behavior that, you know, would qualify as feminine. But I do think it looks different on every woman, because not all women have the same background. Not all women have the same exposure to, you know, what it means to be a woman, you know. So some women are a work in progress.
Okay. What about you, Shannon? How you feel?
Yeah, and I think that's interesting, and I want to make sure I'm getting the question right. You said our perception of what femininity is.
So basically, he was asking. He said, "Is femininity the same across the board, or do each women come with a different? Like, is there different levels of femininity depending on the woman, on the person?"
Got you. Okay. So I personally think it does. It's just a standard. Femininity to me is energy. I grew up with a really masculine mother. She was business owner, still is, boss chick, all that stuff. And she loves me, but I knew in a wife, I needed something completely different. And my wife is like the complete opposite. She's a stay-at-home mother and all of that. But the energy that comes with the femininity is less about just the things that she does. It's the energy when she walks into the room, how she's greeting me, how she's looking at me, how she's keeping herself together. If when my son needs attention, are you yelling at him, just being aggressive, or are you just being patient? So I think it's really that energy that is just universally feminine.
Oh, that's a really good perspective. But I do got to ask you, because you brought it up. And I like to ask the tough questions. Would your wife still be the same feminine, have the same femininity level if you were broke and she wasn't a stay-at-home mom?
Yeah, so she wasn't a stay-at-home mom. I think naturally when you have to work as a woman, you have to get some level of masculinity. I think that's just what comes with work, because I think a lot of the masculinity for me has been sacrifice. Am I willing to do the really, really hard mental stuff and sacrifice my emotions and how I'm feeling right now to get that end game? And when you put your woman in a situation where she can be a stay-at-home wife, a stay-at-home mother, it's not as difficult. She doesn't have to make all of those same mental choices and mental sacrifices. So I think that when I didn't have a job and she was still my girlfriend, she definitely was feminine, but it wasn't to the same degree as it is now.
So
because it's a whole different level of peace.
he said level of peace is crazy. So on that, yeah. So listen, on that basis, right? So, and I totally agree. My whole goal in my life now with my wife is to make sure she's never having to pick up another anything to go and have to look for $1. Like that's my goal. That's my focus, right? If I can't change my wife's financial outcome, then she picked the wrong fucking guy. I'm supposed to hustle till I make that happen, right? So on that basis, I totally agree with what you're saying. But at the end of the day, at the end of it all, the goal here is to understand that modern day women cannot all just sit at home because they have too much drive and ambition because they have been through too much. A single mother who had to raise her kids in the roughest parts of the world and go out and meet some of the trashiest men because of the situation causes them to be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more protective, not of just themselves, their hearts, but of their family and their positions and the things they've gained. So it makes total sense that women who get with men who have been through that stuff may come with a little bit more callous, than the average woman. Like you said, your lady, and it depends on when you got with her. Did you get with her when she was young, when she was just getting out of college or going to college? Like that stuff matters. What has she been through? Because she may not have that because she came out of a good position to go into a decent position. Now she's in an even better position. So on that basis, I totally agree with the ladies. Yeah, it's okay to be masculine in the times that you need to be and be protective. But when you find yourself a good man, it's time to set those things aside. It's time to put those things down. It's like when little boys have to really put their big boy pants on, it's time for you to take them off. Yeah. It's time for you to sit that shit down because you don't have to go through that no more. So for me, I don't want a submissive woman, not to the extent of what most men would claim a submissive woman, like the red pill guys. I wouldn't want a woman like that. I wouldn't want a woman so submissive that every time she jumps at everything I say and, rush. Oh, I got you, my darling. Whatever you need, I'm here. I don't want a woman like that. I want a woman with some grit because I come from grit. I know I need a little of that, but I don't need it to the extent that it's at me. It needs to be us at the world. That needs to be coming from us to the world. So that's the only thing about the modern day world and the modern day woman that I can't really understand why they use that energy towards the man that's trying to help them get through the storm as well. We need to be putting that out into the world, not towards each other. And that's the situation that I find a lot of black women to be in. And when they say they strong black women and they gotta find they master their femininity or relax in it, you ain't got to go through all of that. It ain't that damn difficult. Love your man, trust your man, and shut the hell up when he asks you to, when he's really busy and just really trying to look for some peace. Just give him that, and then he's going to service you in every way you need to be serviced. That's what I stand on. So,
yeah, I don't know. I was going to say, I agree with that. I wanted to take it back to the beginning of the conversation when we were talking about how, certain images are being fed into the minds of women of today. I think, again, we're seeing successful women that don't have men in their lives. And, it's being promoted in the algorithm, basically, that you can be successful and not being in a relationship. So the idea of marriage is being destroyed, basically by these, by the images that we're seeing, by society in general, that you don't need to be in a marriage, and that's some sort of old
ideology,
some sort of old ideal. Marriage is an old ideal. And so we're seeing more entrepreneurship and things like that in women. And I think a lot of the masculinity that we deem as masculine, I don't think women can necessarily be, it's masculine for a woman, okay? But I think it's being promoted as something to admire, and something that, women should aspire to in these modern times. And so what basically we're talking about is something that I think especially when I speak to younger girls, they can't even really relate to. They come from places where they don't have a father, and they grow up not seeing the relationship dynamic. And so even and you were talking about women in adverse conditions. Yes, they have to be more masculine. Yes, they have to be more aggressive. You know, in the work environment, you can't have this, you know, meek woman, which is the ideal of what femininity is and what they push as a weakness to be feminine or submissive. You know, so a lot of, especially Black women, don't want to be viewed like that. You know, so, you know, we have to kind of look at the role society plays in creating this image of this, you know, hard masculine Black women. And we also have to look at the environmental conditions that some of these people, you know, come from. Some of these women are coming out of conditions where they have to be like that. So it's going to be a work in progress if they're willing to work. But for the most part, it's being promoted as an old ideal, you know, an old ideal that you have to have a man. Why have a man when I, you know, basically take care of myself and all my kids, you know? So I just wanted to point out that there's a complex group of things that go into this masculine woman or this masculine Black woman. It's
I
not
just want to call
simply,
it toxic femininity. I don't even want to call it
it's
masculine.
toxic femininity,
Like,
but
that's
it
what it
comes from
is.
somewhere. It comes from,
It's
and
feminism.
that's what I was saying. I was saying, like,
Feminism was started by
we
Black
do need
women,
to
so start with
rebrand.
that.
Well, I was going to say we do need to rebrand, and one of the ways that we can
Save your
rebrand is
face.
to bring back shame, is to start shaming certain behaviors that we're seeing. You know, we're seeing women, you know, every day I get on Instagram, I see the next female rapper that's barely dressed, that's talking about her body parts, that's talking about how many people that she's, you know, done things with. When I was growing up, like literally, those people were beat up. They were, you know, dragged through the mud. They were talked about. You know, you were shamed for stuff like that. Now it's sort of like a badge of honor to have a certain amount of bodies. You know, women are talking to each other about how many bodies they have. You know, and this is very disturbing that nobody sees anything wrong with it, and nobody is correcting these. Nobody's
Right,
correcting them.
but see, the thing about it is, right? Just as many people that we see doing that, we have just as many men who are simps to the cuckold type of mentality, who's willing to date those women and wife those women. So we can't mix what society is doing up in their collectiveness in that manner to the notion that those women are not feminine to the men that they're with, because they could be the most feminine fucking women on the planet. Like, they might service their men up and down. We don't know. They might, you know. So I don't want to mix those things up, but I do understand what you're saying. Go ahead, Shannon.
I wanted to add a point real quick, and you guys tell me if you think I'm wrong, but it has been my understanding that Black men might be the least trusted race and gender combination out of all of them. And when I say least trusted, I mean infidelity is what we talk about all the time.
Black men don't
But
cheat.
even financially, right. I know. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But financially, we're not trusted financially
Yep.
to take care of a home. We're not trusted to be good fathers. We're not trusted to be good husbands. We're not trusted to keep jobs. And that image is not only given, and I think it's Bernadette, right?
Mhm.
That image, as you mentioned, it comes through our television screens, the music we listen to. But it is crazy when I tell you that this is literally being fed from fathers to daughters, from the mothers to the daughters. You don't need a man. Focus on your education. Focus on your degree. And it's to the point where I'm highly confident, and I pretty much know this for a fact. Most of our Black men, these are men who doing well. I'm not even just talking about somebody who's bumming it up. Somebody who might have been successful would rather their daughter go to college, finish their entire 5-year college degree, opposed to them getting married in their second year and just going ahead and leaving school and being a wife. We have officially put education, we have officially put whatever else is their jobs, cars, homes,
Red
over
bottoms.
being a mother, being a wife. And
Agreed.
I brought
Yes.
this up. I had this conversation with a cousin of mine. She's older than me, but she's a female, and she's in a similar situation as my wife. And she threw in, I don't want my life to be that I was just a mother and a wife, something to that extent. And it literally broke my heart because she thought she needed to go get a degree to feel more value. And I said, you've already done the two most valuable things you can do as a woman, especially for a husband. You gave your husband your children and you married them. and now you get to do all of this life together. So I wanted to bring that up because when I hear about the environment, I told my wife 3 years ago, I said, there's going to be an attack on marriage. And she can quote me saying this. And I said, you're going to start seeing celebrities get divorced. You're going to start seeing people talking about it less because they know that a married home, a stable home is the best environment for children. And they don't care about the young girls now, the ones that are 18, 19, because a lot of that, the corruption's already there. They're coming for the kids now.
When you got girls on OnlyFans making 78 million in 2 years, it's kind of hard to put put them back in a box of like being with So I totally get you where you're coming from, and this has been a great conversation. I think overall what we have to really define as femininity is subjective. Like my wife's femininity is not going to be Sandra's. I can't hear Justin say, "Oh, my wife do this and do that," and then question my wife and be like, "Well, why you don't do those things?" That's not my wife. So that's not something I expect from my wife. I married a woman that's good for me. That's great for me. I'm not looking for a certain ideology of what femininity is based on the cultural structure of what it used to be back in the 1900s or whatever, early 1900s. I just said that in the 1900s, didn't I? That's crazy. I'm getting old. So on that basis, yes, we are now in a space where we have to start to understand that things are different. And Sandra looked at me crazy when I said femininity. The feminist movement was started by black women. Well, I want you to just take this into consideration. White women did not have the balls to leave their men, and they knew they shouldn't leave their men back when this feminist movement started back in those times. But I'm gonna tell you who convinced them to leave their white men: black women, because black women.
Come on, mammy.
The black woman was in the house, and guess who that white lady was talking to every day? The black woman. You don't need him. I'm telling you, it is true. Black women encouraged the feminist movement, encouraged those white women that they could be something, they could work, they could vote, because that shit did not start in no damn basement with a lot of group of white women doing no damn crocheting. Those white women were good. Those white women were good. Those white women were good with their men going to work, bringing home the chicken. Go ahead.
You want to know what's funny? Who really started feminism?
Who that?
White men.
White men didn't start that.
White men. If you go,
I've done the history. I've done the history. I understand.
No, you clearly have it.
I know it. Okay.
Because the beginning of feminism was a white man going and telling white women, what they should and should be fighting for. But if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, if you want to go all the way deep, it started with men, white men, wanting to be able to bed women without having to marry them. That's where this seed really was started, right? Because if I can convince women that they don't need to have marriage, and I can convince women that their value is no longer in being a woman and the things that women can do that men physically will never be able to do. If I can convince them to be more sexually degenerate, then guess what? The less work I have to put in to get sex. And so this was something that was started from that seed, and women ate that shit up. Okay, they ate it up.
With the cow.
And next thing you know, it's grown into what it is. I will send you a video detailing all of this. I will send you a resource so you can detail all this.
So just on that basis, because I know exactly what you're talking about. I do massive amounts of research. I would have never stated what I stated without doing the research, because everything you're talking about, I fully understand. But if I send you the videos that actually talk about the opposite of what you're saying, and saying how it all works in cohesion, would you change your perspective then to say that black women had a major part in helping the feminist movement move forward? Because it started off with what? They used the black women to do what? What did they use the black women to do in the feminist movement?
Work.
Well, I mean, just like every movement that they have, they use black women to do the heavy lifting.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. So just because you said that, right?
We're just pawns.
Listen, listen.
Always.
Black women have been pawns since day one when it came to American society, and them working in the house with massa and and everybody else.
Well, they're still using black women. They're still using black people. Period.
While the man was out there in the fields doing what he needed to do, and up till today, this very moment, we're still blaming the exact same people for pushing an agenda called feminism on black women or the trope of strong black woman when they the ones who set that trope up for themselves from the jump because they had the power of being in the house. They had the power. They had the power of humping master without getting killed for it. Listen, we ain't had them same privileges. We ain't had them same privileges. Black women has always been the voice of strong and powerful because they even had it over the black men who worked in the fields. So this trope is something that they created because of their submission to slavery, but not the submission to their husbands.
I'm also going to say, probably around World War II, when women had to get in the factories and support the troops and all of that stuff. And I think it was also started to feed the economy because with women in the house, you're only getting men out there working.
That's exactly
and I
right.
think
That's exactly right.
The people that, Mr. Global said, hey, we can feed the American economy if we get these women out
working.
here.
No, you're totally right. You're totally right.
And that's what started a feminist movement to where white women felt like we can do what men do. And then we'll get black women involved, and the rest is history.
Black women was involved from the jump.
I'm saying as far as the way we know the organized feminist movement. I know that there's some backdrop to, the whole leading up to that, but I think women getting out there and working was something that was used to feed the economy. And as a result, a lot of the homes were broken. Then you had women out here, fending for themselves. And I think that's what started white women believing that, hey, we can get out here, we work, we can support our families. And then it became, hey, girl.
Support. Make sure you say support our families, not get rid of the man. Support.
Support our families. But eventually that led to, we don't need a man. We're going to burn our bras.
First of all, you're not seeing white women out here talking about.
You are seeing.
Name one song.
Liberal white women out here.
Listen, one song. Name one song that ever said, "I'm a single lady." All my single ladies.
No, they're not getting it like that. They're not doing that.
One white woman that's done that.
They're not. They're not. Country music is all about family.
The
country music is about family, about love. Yeah, it is what R&B used to be. But go ahead.
See, the thing is, that's the whole problem. It's about the propaganda, right? There are a lot of white women that are doing that and living that. Okay, that's why the white men are, as much as you want to say that it's not happening, a lot of white men are complaining about their women and not being able to have babies with their women. So, we're the face of everything, and we do, they use us for the propaganda. It's a system it's a situation where, when you condition people so much to hate themselves that they start doing things that furthers that hate, you no longer have to even touch it anymore. It's now a beast of its own, and they will advocate for their own demise. That's essentially the situation that Black people are in right now. We are now making choices to harm ourselves and then having a smile on our face while we do it. So that's why, yes, you will see propaganda like that from Black women, from Black men, talking about the independent woman, single woman, I don't need no man. Yes, but guess what? There are a lot of white women that live that life just the same, but the media is not going to push that idea as hard.
Okay, all right.
By the way, Katy Perry. By the way, Katy Perry.
Listen, we don't do no Googling. We don't do no Google. We don't do no Google in this chat.
Madonna.
Now, if you don't know the facts off the top, we don't do no Google in these chats. Hey, listen. So on that basis, what I'm trying to get you to understand is, right? Sandra's saying they're using it to pump propaganda to Black people, but white people are doing it without the propaganda. You see what I'm saying? It's just like you don't have to turn Black people gay by pumping the propaganda. They're gay because they want to be gay. LGBT ain't got to pump propaganda to make people gay. They're just fucking gay. You ain't got to pump Black people to be degenerate. They're just fucking degenerate across the board is what I'm trying to understand. So what came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first? Did the propaganda needed to be there, or did the need for propaganda needed to be there? What came first? Because I don't want to hear all of this unnecessary talk about, oh, we're being pushed to do this, we're being pushed to do that. My environment made me a thug. Or was I a thug? Or was it survival? What was it? I have to define that for me. That's what I have to do. Just like each individual woman has to define what femininity is to them, and every man has to define what masculinity is for them. Is it toxic? Is it toxic? Or is it simp? What is it? What is it? Because for me, I'm a healthy middle. I don't want to be a toxic man to my woman. I'd be a toxic man to another man, but I ain't trying to be toxic to my woman. That don't make any sense to me. No matter how much red pill content they put out, no matter how many movies I see I never wanted to be Ike Turner. I wanted his money, but I ain't never wanted to be him beating the shit out of Tina.
Well, see, I think that's the problem, to be honest, with the Black community. There's no standard, there's no culture provides a standard. And that's why, like, when we have those other conversations about culture, and I say there is no such thing as Black culture, what is being pushed on us is being pushed. It's not a Black culture. But culture will provide a standard of behavior, okay? And with our people, there is no standard behavior simply because there's so much degeneracy at this point. It's not coming from the Black community, but it's being accepted and absorbed by the Black community, and the Black community is the most affected by it.
Go ahead, Shannon.
I wanted to add something. So I have ADHD, and I might forget what I'm saying as well, but I definitely think we do have a standard that's just trash. I mean, not a standard. I apologize.
No,
fix that quote.
No, it's a standard.
Rewind. We have a culture, but our culture is trash. I think when I think culture, I think this is the expectation that you get when you think about a certain amount of people. I know a lot of times we try to give the word stereotype to it, but to me, that's the culture. That's what you are known for. That's what you are represented as. And every time I think about my people, and I'm from Detroit, so from Detroit, it's a whole different culture there. We do not carry ourselves in a respectful way. We do not carry ourselves like we want to be respected or that we even respect ourselves. This goes for the men and the women. And what's crazy is we're doing it to the kids. Now we have our kids dressing like adults. We're trying to have the kids sagging the pants at 4 years old and wearing all this makeup and stuff. And I wanted to say this because my wife, I had so many conversations with my wife. I love her so much. But the brainwashing was started with her, where when I would tell her, I don't need you wearing weave. I don't like weave. I'm not into that. I don't like the makeup. You don't need to be a clown. You're beautiful. Wear all your natural stuff, all of this stuff. She thought that I was really lying to her. She did not understand what my point of view was. And to me, it showed me that the culture is so whack where the women don't even trust.
Don't trust the man.
You all don't even trust. You don't trust us to lead
in no fashion
in real life.
Like no fashion,
in real
bro.
life. And I'm not just saying y'all. I'm just saying Black women in general. That's the culture. That's our culture.
That's the culture, bro. And like, and this is I love Black women. I love my mom. I love my sister. I love my beautiful wife. I love my daughter, even though she fell so deep into that Black culture. There's like, all those little mannerisms and shit, just, that new age shit where it take them 30 seconds to get that type shit out. Like, just say your fucking words, like, don't do all of that shit. Like, why are you doing that? But it would never register. It would never fucking register. You don't have to do that to be a great person. Like, you're trying to put on this character to appeal to people. For what reason? You are a beautiful person. You don't need to do extra shit to get through life. So what I'm saying is, I love Black women. I just don't understand why they don't trust Black men when we tell them the truth, and they think we're lying.
Because there's rewards. Like someone mentioned this earlier. There are rewards for behaving that way. When you see what's promoted, when you see what gets traction, it is that very behavior.
So
exactly.
So that's the thing, though, Sandra. If the goal is to be married, like my man down here said, and Bernadette said, if the goal is to be married, right, and to have the one thing that is so hard to get, to find a good man is almost like striking gold or finding the rarest diamond, because when you get it and you find it, that may be your only one. Everything after that may be fucking trash, because there's not a lot of good men, especially Black men. Let's talk about just the Black man, scape of it. It's not a lot. So when a woman find a good man, the best thing she could do is hold on to it. But what she will not do is really realize when she has that attention that she wants, she still don't think that's the attention she getting. She wants more. She wants more. When a man says, like my man said, no, I love you with your natural hair. Don't do nothing to it. Don't wear no weaves, no wigs. And you still go do that. Don't wear no makeup and you still go do that. You don't trust the fact that your man sees you for who you really are and loves you for that.
That's because a lot of women want validation from other women.
Y'all gay.
And
Boom.
that's
Y'all
the
gay.
crazy
Boom.
part.
Y'all gay.
That's the
I'm
culture.
not. I'm not with
Y'all
that
gay.
shit.
Other women,
No,
other women and
that's
other
the
men.
culture.
Hold up, no,
Other
don't
women-
put that on me.
But how
because
many-
you can
how
ask
many
Justin,
women-
You can
how-
ask Justin. I will ask him, do you like how my hair looks? Do you like this? I ask him every single time, and he will give a testimony to that. I always ask him, do you like this? Because I care about his validation. Obviously, I want to be true to myself, but I care about his validation. Like, why do you think, I've been doing, you've been seeing me, I've been switching things up to align better with what my man likes, while also being true to myself and what I like. So a lot of these women do not have that mindset. They want to appeal to other women because they feel like men are the enemy. That's one. They've been conditioned to believe that men are the enemy, specifically Black men. And then they also get conditioned that this whole sisterhood thing is a real thing, even though the sisterhood will cut your throat to get your man. Okay, they will tell you that outfit look good on you, knowing that it look a hot damn mess because they want to be the best looking heifer in the room. It's a lot of scandalous stuff going on with women, and
Or is that Black women mentality? That's the question. Or is that just Black women mentality to think that way? So it actually, it actually plays out. You know what I'm saying? Like, so.
No, let me just say this real quick. A lot of women who are seeking validation usually do so because they didn't grow up with masculinity. I'm just being honest. When you talk to women who are constantly craving the attention from other men, that usually comes from the fact that they didn't grow up with a father, okay? Because if you did, you would have that. That's where fathers are so important. Marriage is important. Fathers are important, especially for the little girls, because you wouldn't have all these women running around, putting plastic and doing all this stuff, the makeup. You see, I never wear makeup. The only thing I wear is my eyebrows. My eyebrows are thin.
But
okay,
I'm just
that's
saying,
all I do.
But
now
how do you stop women from wanting attention? That shit is like sugar. Once they get a taste of it, they
you want attention, and women want attention from the men, from a man, and
y'all want it from other women.
No,
y'all just saying
listen
it.
to what I'm saying. Women, let me finish.
Okay, all right.
If a woman is in a relationship with a man, she respects that man, it's a good relationship, she's going to want his attention. But also women may have a standard of care. And that's a thing that men need to understand too. I'm not going to walk around bald headed. I'm sorry. I cut my locks off, a couple of months ago. So, I might have to do a few little things here and there. Now, I know you said you like my hair natural, and I get it. And when it gets to a certain point, I'm going to wear it that way again. Okay. But, some women do have a standard that they want to maintain. And when you marry a woman and she looks a certain way and she kept herself up a certain way and you like that, the women will try to maintain that or get back to that. And it may look different, down the line. Maybe, body changes start happening, things start changing. Maybe she wants to change her hair. Maybe she wants to do certain things. And you sort of have to allow women the space to do that. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong.
Just like you have to allow men the space to be men, but go ahead, Shannon.
No, I was going to say, but then, oh man, we come right back to what I was talking about with trust. Because when we talk about my wife now, she doesn't do any of that stuff. So I was talking about earlier, and how you doing, Sandra? How you doing the transition, and you're getting into it, because like my wife wasn't taught that. She wasn't taught femininity, but she was always up under her father. So it was easy for me to come in and say, okay, cool, you've been already on the track where you have a man, you're listening to his direction. Now I'm going to teach you no cursing. We're not doing that. No, none of the other stuff. And this is how I need you to present yourself as my wife. But I think the thing that made it so easy for her and makes it difficult for a lot of other women in the world is the sacrifice where she was willing to say, what I want to do is less important than what my man needs me to do. And that's where I say, when I talk about trust, I don't think women naturally have that trust for Black men where they trust that we even know what we need from them. And that's that was my point I wanted to make.
No, good point. I think
Absolutely.
I think we all have made some really great points here, and we're at 9 o'clock. It's an hour and a half, and I definitely want to make sure we find a good cutoff point. And we definitely appreciate you coming in, Shannon. We'd love to have you again, man. I think you have some great points, some great validations out here, and I think Bernadette and Sandra did an amazing job defending the femininity culture today, and what it used to be, and what it could possibly turn into if we can get back to a solid foundation. Me myself, I am super aggressive when it comes to getting some points across, just to get under your skin a little bit and see if you're going to be honest or not. But I do appreciate every woman who wants to play the woman role. I mean, really play it. And that's something that we don't have a lot of today. And we can all see it through media, through social media, of course, through our families and friends that we have been associated with who refuse to just clean up their act or their image. Which they don't have to, of course, they're free to live their lives. But for us, like-minded people that's in this chat right now, and everybody else who's in the chat, I think we all understand that there is a healthy balance in the modern day where men and women need to balance each other out. We don't need toxic men, and we don't need toxic women. We need a healthy balance. But if you're going to be toxic to the world. And use that energy to go and get something, go be something together, because at that point it's you against the world. It's you and him or you and her against the world, because no one wants to see you win as a couple. For instance, I'm gonna make this last little point and I'm gonna let everybody close out. Cardi B and Offset. She's already with this man's friend that he was friends with before the divorce papers even dry. Before the ink on the pen is dry. She's not the first one. I'm not throwing her on the bus for it. But it obviously shows that during that relationship, she had her eyes on somebody else. Same with him. He's a cheater. They wasn't good for each other. But nobody wanted them to stay together. They needed this toxicity to happen to have content. Everybody needs something to happen to have content. We talked about it last week. Blueface and this girl, this ratchet ass one girl. I forgot her name. Krishan. They need that. Yeah, they need that. The media needs that, not because they want to push it, because it's a attention-seeking situation for Black people who love to watch it. They love to watch this downward spiral of other Black people, and we all have seen it in our own lives. So it's good to see other Black people promote each other and build each other up and work towards something great. But at the end of the day, we have to agree to disagree that Black women can relax in femininity, because you can't. You just need to tap into it and be what you already are. That's just what it is to me. So it's on whoever else. Whoever else. Final thoughts.
I mean, that was a bit of a mic drop.
Yeah. Like, not much more to say, but we do have to start seeing femininity as power and not a weakness. As women, we do have to reclaim our balance. We do have to rebrand. I have certain things that I think we need to do, like bring back shame, promote being in a relationship, promote family, show your kids, show your husband, and be proud of that. And, we just have to come from a place of wisdom and not, see it as something weak. And I think that is a large problem in the community. And I just think that, when we act like that, we have to suffer the consequences, and we see a lot of consequences with these entertainers. You mentioned Cardi B, you mentioned, you didn't mention Halle Bailey, but that's another one that's been in the news. But we have to stop giving energy to these particular stories and these, just the dysfunction, and we just need to start promoting within. We can start with us promoting the nuclear family.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think us as women, we need to take accountability for the positions that we're in, specifically focusing on Black women. We need to understand that, yes, there was propaganda that fueled that image, but now we fuel it ourselves. They don't have to even put money or anything behind it, because we have, especially with like social media, you have regular people, everyday people promoting that same BS. So we as Black people, we have to stop leaning on victim mentality. And, I know a lot of times, like, me bringing up the history of things could seem like that, but it's okay to understand where things start, but then also take accountability for the roles that we play into it. Because like Justin had said earlier, someone could show you this imagery left, right, and center, but it is your choice whether or not you buy into it. It is your choice whether or not you adopt that as part of your lifestyle. So I feel like if we want Black people to do better, if we want Black women to do better, specifically since this is the topic, then individually as Black women, we need to start being self-aware. Okay, we need to ditch the people that are toxic, right? If you're starting to notice that you want to be better in life and you have toxic friends that are not on that same wavelength, you need to let them go. Okay, because they will drag you down and they will bash every bit of growth that you try to have, and they will feel like your growth is somehow a reflection of them and their shortcomings, and then they will try to tear you down. Some even go as far as unaliving. We've seen that happen. So us as Black women, we really need to reclaim our image at the individual level. Okay, because there will always be sellouts that will be willing to get on the screen and act a fool. There will always be people like that. And we also need to recognize that, unfortunately, as Black people, we get judged as a monolith, even though we're not. We're very different. But on the individual level, we can make those differences within our circle by, adopting a more feminine demeanor, by being supportive to the men in our life that deserve that support. I know that was a point that was brought up earlier. Some men aren't deserving of that support, but that doesn't mean we need to go toe to toe with them. That means we need to let them go and then go about our way. So, just to kind of put a little bow on this, femininity is something that all women can access as long as they choose to, and it is a choice.
Great. Okay, nice. All right, Shannon, go ahead and wrap us up, brother.
Okay, so you all made some amazing points. I wanted to bring up a couple things. First of all, for young ladies who might be watching this, or women in general, femininity and submission are not bad words. These are not bad words at all. Honestly, for a man and a husband, these are words that we love to hear. For me, I'll say, because I know you're a little bit different, but for me, I love that. I love that energy. Come in, rub my head, relax me, calm me down. I'm not bossing you around, but I have expectations for you, just like you have expectations for me. That's a marriage. That's a relationship. The next thing is, I actually wanted to recommend that a lot of our young women stop this staying in a long relationship and then deciding to leave when it's clearly not amicable. It's not something that will work for you, because a lot of us are missing out on marriages young, or these marriage opportunities. And I keep hearing this term, I'm too young, which is blowing my mind, because as long as you are illegally over 18 years old, what is too young to be married? A lot of our people, I mean, my grandparents, they were married for 75 years and they died. My grandfather, great grandfather, just died in his 90s, and they stayed married the whole time. 5 children, all college educated, 5 generations. It's crazy. So I don't believe in that I'm too young. Maybe you think you're immature or you haven't settled down, but don't miss out on the opportunity to have the husband that you probably could really have in life, because it's not the same. We have folks, my grandmother, I love you, but she's been trying to find a husband. She divorced her husband when she was 19 years old or something young. And she's been trying to find a husband since. She's in her 70s and she's still looking.
That's crazy.
So please don't squander that opportunity, because you do only live one time. Keep the right people in your ear. So as we mentioned, don't have the wrong people, but you do want to have some type of mentor, and that's us men too. We want to have somebody who can give us the right direction, we can look up to, that we respect, and that has the outcome that we want in life. Not just folks talking out the side of their necks and they're not living it. Look at the people who have the results to show. Another thing, I want to thank y'all for even having me up here. I love being part of this conversation, and this is just a great conversation to be impactful for our youth and even other people who might not understand that there are people who think like this. We're not all ignorant. We're not all just wasting our lives away, but we do have folks out here who are trying to make a difference one home at a time in our homes, and doing whatever we can in communities like this. Thank you guys. Thanks again.
Hey, no problem, Shannon.
Thank you.
And with that being said, everybody, I definitely appreciate it. Again, we was probably talking about something different, but I think this was a great topic. I really do. I think it was a great conversation to have. And Sandra, we appreciate you for putting this out there for us to have a foundation to build on. With that being said, the last thing I'm going to mention is, are black women being pushed to be strong black women? 71% said yes, and 29% said no. So there you go. There you have it. The consensus is they are being pushed to be strong black women, but it's your choice to fall for that or not. With that being said, I hope y'all have a great one. This was Control Alt Debate, and until next time.
Peace.
Peace, peace, peace.